Hey folks, Carl here and welcome to episode 3 of this Cobblestone Street diorama. Okay folks, so episode 3 we are looking at putting a fence around the edges of this cobblestone street. So we have been playing, as you can see on the bench, we've got a load of cocktail sticks, coffee stirring sticks and things out. We've been trying some different things. Now, first of all, I went and I built a fence from just cocktail sticks cut up into smaller pieces, and then we went and we took some of the coffee stirrers and we put them on like wooden panels, and that turned out very much like this. If we zoom in a little bit so you can take a look at that. So there's the first fence we did. You can see we stuck the cocktail sticks together like a fence, and then we stuck some of the cocktail sticks to the front. We roughed them up a little bit with the Tamiya saw blade just to give us that texture, and we've just gone and painted this over with a bit of dark brown just to see what the effect looks like, and it has turned out reasonably okay. So we carried on playing a few iterations later and we came up with a fence like so. Now the only difference is we've still got the cocktail sticks on the end, but we've used the stirrers to make the beams across, and we've stained it a slightly little bit lighter. We've still put some score marks in there with the blade. Now I'm preferring the look of this. Obviously this is going to be made and weathered a little bit better than this to make it look more like a fence panel, but this is, I think, what we are going to go for. And of course these are going just across like so. So it will look something like that, and then we'll have a wooden panel down the side. Nothing on this side because this is just going to be a grass verge. So how are we doing this? So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Wrong way. Always a 50-50 chance, always get it the wrong way. So how have we been doing this? So firstly, we are taking our wooden sticks. We don't need a huge amount of these because you get quite a lot of panels out of there, and we are just going along, we are just scoring along the wooden stick like so, just to give us a textured effect on the stick. And we're doing that all the way down. Okay. It doesn't need to be neat or perfect. Wood isn't a uniform. There isn't a uniform grain on wood, shall we say. So we're doing one side, just like so. Flip it over and get the other side done as well. So I'm going to get half a dozen of these sticks scored like so off screen, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay folks, so that is those all roughed up, sanded down a little bit just to take some of the edges off so we don't give ourselves 101 splinters. Next up, we've gone and we've cut some cocktail sticks just straight in half to give us the uprights for the fence. So those to one side, those there. So forget our base. What we've gone and done as well is we've taken 2 cocktail sticks, we've cut them to the length we want inside here. Oh, inside here. So it's the length that we want. Yeah, we've roughed these 2 up as well, and all we're going to do is we're going to take these to the table in the spacing we want. Now for this one, we had the space and we put it down onto the one line on our mat like so, and the other one was on the line above like so. So I'm going to get these taped down and we'll be back in 1 second. Okay folks, so as you can see, that is this tape down. Now for this one we used a spacing of 3 on our cutting mat. If we use 3 here, we end up with a spare 1. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to put one of these upright every 2 spaces. We are going to line up the bottom of the upright to this line at the bottom here, and that gives us the length that we wanted. Now we are just going to be sticking these on with PVA. Okay, so we'll get our bottle of PVA. We've got an old shot glass here which I use for mixing paints and stuff like that. I'm just going to put a very small dab onto the top of there, like so. We don't need much more than that. Now we're going to got plenty of cocktail sticks here, so we're going to use half of one, and we're going to dab it in, and we're just going to touch up where we want this stick to go. A little bit of PVA on there, you don't need a huge amount. We're just going to take our upright, if we can pick it up, of course. Very tweezers because it's easier to hold and control, and we're just going to put that on and line it up with the bottom of the line where we said there. So that is the first one on. We're just going to work our way down, PVA on the line, every one. Pick up the next upright, stick it down, slide it into place like so. He says, just like that, and leave it in place. And we're just going to work our way along until we've got all these uprights in place. And then of course it's just a matter of leaving it be until it's dry. So I'll get this done and we'll see you in a moment. It should not take too long. Okay folks, so as you can see my math is not great, so we have gone all 2s, and then at the end we've got another 3, so that is actually going to work out quite well because it then looks like we've got 3 on each end. So we now have to wait for this to completely dry, and that's going to take a couple of hours for that PVA to set properly. And while it is setting, those last few minutes, you can double check everything, make sure everything's lined up and is where it should be. It's looking pretty good so far at the minute, nothing I need to change there at all. So we'll leave these be and we'll talk to you in a moment. Okay folks, so this has been drying for quite a bit of time now. We are going to peel the tape away. As you may have noticed, I have removed this end piece. The reason being is when we attach it to this fence, we are obviously going to have this one. It's going to be used to stick that to, like so. So we remove that end one as it was not needed. So I'll get that off there. And there we have our fence. So like I say, this piece will connect like so to there. Right, so next up, obviously we got our sticks prepped and ready. I've already started to cut the lengths out here. I'm using the same piece to cut the same lengths every time. And I put my cutters down somewhere. I'm not using my good cutters, it's just a cheap pair of electrical wire cutters. Like so for doing this, don't want to ruin our good ones. So we've got our piece, our length cut ready, so we're just lining it up. And we are just cutting, keep the same one, to keep the same length. So we are cutting it and we're going to get the same one back again. As a tendency, if you just use the one you cut just, it gets longer and longer and longer. So if you use the same one to cut with, hopefully they should all stay the same length. Almost did it again there. So we'll get this off. We should have enough. We're cutting this one up. We shall soon find out in a moment. So I'll just get this done. Quick bit of time lapse. Okay folks, so as you saw there, I cut an extra one just in case. It's always good to have more than you need rather than not enough. So again, we are now just going to, I'm going to keep that one separate just in case we do need some more. That is my first one. We're going to keep them all the same length. So I'm going to put this one here for reference so I can see what the spacing was like. And we are literally, again, get some PVA glue, a little bit on the top of that. Again, you don't need a huge amount, that will be plenty. And again, we're just going to use an old cocktail stick. Of course, first we are just going to tidy up the ends of these as well. So I'm just going to put a pile of them together like that, get quite a rough sanding stick. I'm just going to tidy up the ends. Okay, that is those ends all sanded off. The reason for doing that is just to square the ends up a little bit and take any bits of extra wood that are protruding or looking a mess. So again, we are just going to zoom in a little bit. There we go, that should do us. So just dabs of glue, again, where we want our panel to be. Just like so. And again, we're just going to line up there and we want our panel just like so, and of course we can position it right at the very end of that. And is that in a similar position? Indeed it is. We're going to bring it the bottom out a little bit, just like so, and it is pretty much bob on. So we have our first one on and it's lined up with the other fence. We'll keep that there as reference just for spacing, etc. So we'll just put a dab of glue. Again. Like so. On the next panel, place it down, line it up, get that spacing as similar as we can, and the bottoms of the panel in line. I'm not too fussed about the top. It's never going to be super accurate anyway. So there we go. On to the next. We're just going to work our way along all of these on. Okay folks, so this is the last piece going on. It looks like we've been quite fortunate, and it looks like it's going to line up pretty close to the end with the spacing that we've used, so I'm quite happy with that. Rearrange those last few pieces. There we go. It's all reasonably straight at the bottom. So let's turn this the right way up. There we go, and there is our long fence all done. Now we're going to need to leave this to dry for a good few hours. PVA is not the quickest to dry, and we've pretty much used all of our pieces except for 4, so good job we cut that extra one a few moments ago. So leave that to dry. So right, I'm going to leave that to dry for a few hours, and for yourselves, we'll talk to you in a second. Okay folks, so as you can see, our long fence is now complete. So quite liking the effect. We've got very slight variance in the sizes, so it gives it maybe a little bit more of a natural look. So there we go. So this now, if I reach over, this now is this section done on this side. So we have our fence here. Obviously this is going to be shortened, so it's a little bit closer to the ground in there. So we are moving on. Next stage is actually going to be to weather this and paint this, and we've been playing with our few spare bits that we had left to see what sort of wood effects we get. I'm just picking some of them up now. So as you can see, we've been trying different effects of wood to, I know it's actually wood, but it's quite pale, so we've been adding some browns and stuff onto it to get an effect. So the first one we did turned out like this. This was pretty much just a very high dry brush left to dry. Well, it was painted brown first with, I think it was this brown here, XF79. We completely painted it. We then sanded it down once it was dry to give us that sort of effect. Now the other one we've done here was using a very slightly lighter brown, which is the wooden deck tan, then dry brushed over the top, and then once it was all dry, we again sanded it down just to take that edge off. So there's the difference. I quite like this one, so we are probably going to go with that effect there. Now the desk, oh blimey, it's early in the morning, I've just come off nights, so you have to bear with me. The desk is a bit of a mess, so I'm going to get all of this lot all cleaned up, tidied up, and then I'll show you how we painted this up. I've told you, next I'll show you. So like I say, I'll get all this tidied up and we'll be back in a minute. Okay folks, so we have tidied up a little bit and we are going to now get a couple of coats of XF78 deck tan onto this. So we're going to paint this, we're just going to thin this out a little bit in our palette, and we're just going to get a couple of coats onto the wood because this will soak up the paint quite a little bit. So we are going to a bit of water in there to start with, just wet our brush, there we go, and take a dip of the paint, get it into that water, get it all thinned out a little bit. There we go, that should do it. And we are just going to put this on quite liberally. Now it's darkening the wood up that little bit, which is what we want. Of course, we are going to need to paint both sides. So I will probably just speed this a little bit up again. So talk to you in a moment. Okay folks, so there we go, that is the first coat down. We're going to let this dry completely. We will just grab hold of that with the tweezers. I'll get that stood up just there to dry it off. We'll get everything tidied up. Like I say, it's probably going to take a little while to dry on the wood there, so I'm going to get this tidied up and we will talk to you once we've got the second coat, and I'll get the second coat done off camera. You're not going to need to see that, so talk to you shortly. Okay folks, so this is now dry. We are only going to be needing a one coat on this. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. So it is now dry. We've given it a light sanding down with our sander and we've given it a quick brush off, so it's now quite smooth. There's a little bit there I want to get off. I'm not going to do it with that. There we go. Just a little bit of wood sticking up there, so we've got that off. So now all we're going to do is give this a dry brush. We've not sanded it on the back, we're just going to leave that as it is. So dry brushing, nice and simple. We're going to go with the darker brown. This is the XF79, so I'll give a little bit of a shake up. Got a little dry brushing brush, this one here. That's our paint shock up, so we are very small amount, tip of the brush, get most of it wiped away. Normal dry brushing, and then we are literally just going to start dry brushing over the top of this wood effect. So we'll zoom in a little bit. You can see we are starting to get that wood effect. Just take your time, no need to rush, very gently work your way along, and a little bit of paint to the brush. Temptation is to put too much on. And end up flooding the piece. And we are looking for a bit of variation. We don't want it all one solid block of colour. So I'll just carry on. We'll either speed up or just cut this bit out. Okay, so that is the front side done. We may touch it up in a few places here. Looking on the camera, it looks a little bit more uneven than it does to the naked eye, but I'm quite happy with that. We're going to get this back side done. I'm going to get that done off camera, and like I say, I may touch that up a little bit here and there, but so far I am happy with that. Very similar to what we have here. I may go over the top of this one again as well to darken it up a little bit. So I'm going to get that done all off camera, like I said, so when that's done I'll be back. So talk to you in a moment. Okay folks, that is our fence done. We went over a little bit more, we got a little bit darker. We got the back end done. Not been as much detail as there, because obviously this is going to be at the back of the dial. We're not going to see too much of it. There is a very slight colour difference. You can see this one looks a little bit more, shall we say, brown. Obviously this is going to go like this. And it is of course going into the corner of our dial right here, like so. Alright, so we're going to keep this video nice and short. We're going to end it here. This episode has been all about getting this fence built up, the tests and things that we did with the paint and different styles of fencing. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like, and if you've enjoyed what you've seen and want to see more, please subscribe. And yeah, we're all done. Next episode we are going to be getting this installed into the dio and start to build up the edges, get all the grass down, hopefully start to get the ballast in between the cobbles, and we'll get some weathering done on the cobble street itself. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Be good, be safe, and of course keep making models. And we'll see you next time. Ta-ta.